Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, a slight emergency situation. The Yankee bullpen has completely collapsed. We'll get into that. Injuries, COVID, just not playing well at all. And culminated by, the Field of Dream, really the Field of Nightmare game, which we'll also do a quick recap of that. Now, don't want to make this totally depressing, so you don't go jump on the third rail or anything. So we'll give you some positive look back where even with all the struggles the Yankees are having, still possibly some light at the end of the tunnel where they could make a push to playoffs, possibly even the AL East. And of course, with some time left at the end, we can bring back our Yankee trivia to test your Yankee knowledge. But first, we're going to throw it back to August 12th, and that's when the Field of Dreams game occurred. Now, just a little backstory on the game and everything surrounded, as you may recall. This game was originally supposed to take place back in 2020, again before COVID shut everything down, and it was slated to be the Yankees versus the Chicago White Sox. Now, the field itself is actually designed after Comiskey Park, where this White Sox played from 1910 to 1990, and of course, the White Sox were going to be the home team for this thing. And for the venue itself, it was going to be a little under, 8,000 seats, so kind of a limited seat there. And of course, the price is going to be jacked up. It's something you think about. It's probably almost, you figure it's going to be basically the price of a Super Bowl ticket. But the game itself in 2020, of course, due to COVID, the season got shortened, so they kind of switched things around, as you may recall. They kind of switched up the leagues where like only the East plays the East and the Central plays the Central. So the Yankees got replaced by these St. Louis Cardinals. So then it was going to be the Cardinals and the Yankees in that ballpark. Cardinals and the White Sox in the ballpark. But then, just around about a week or two before the game was going to happen, a bunch of the Cardinals came down with COVID-19. So they just scrapped the whole thing altogether. And then once we switched to 2021, they decided, let's go back to the original plan of the Yankees and the White Sox. So in the end, it came out what it was supposed to be. And for the game itself for the Yankees, first of all, they started, Andrew Haney, who's like, of all the, pitchers, I mean, it'd be nice to have someone like, Cole in there, like that, but they had to get, Haney, who they got from the Angels, and he had absolutely nothing. Got whacked around, only went 5 innings, served up 7 runs, gave up also 3 home runs as well. So put the Yankees in a hole and really didn't have much of a chance until some late inning heroics by the Yankees. Now down in the 9th, down 7-4, get a two-run home run from Aaron Judge, which was his second home run of the game. Gardy hit one earlier, and then Giancarlo Stanton, who again a lot of fans been on this whole season, came up with some heroics of his own, hitting a 2-run home run of his own into the cornfields. Very majestical. I mean, if you're a viewer of this is like, wow, what a great game to watch. Of course, if you're a fan of either two, you're probably pulling your hair out. Puts the Yankees ahead 8-7 in the 9th inning, and you're probably thinking, wow, what a great win. Even though the season's been kind of rough a little bit, the Yankees been playing a little better lately, but still it's kind of been a rough season. Would be a great win to have. But no, of course, you can't have that because, as mentioned before, the Yankee bullpen's been struggling. Now, Chapman was down originally. They had to put him on the IL for inflammation in his elbow, and it's probably maybe part of the reason why he's kind of been struggling as of late. So they insert Britton in there, who normally for the Yankees, he's been, pretty steady. Of course, he used to be a closer with the Baltimore Orioles, and in occasions, when, they have to give Chapman a night off or someone else a night off, Britton's able to do the job, but this season has been rough on Britton. Again, he had some surgery on the elbow to start the season, to remove a bone chip. Came back from that, then had a little bout with COVID, so then he was out for a while with that, came back with that, lost some weight, and really hasn't been good this season, and of course he serves it up. Now he had a batter in the bottom of the 9th, 0-2, ends up walking that batter, put one on, and then Tim Anderson hits a home run, crushing, game-winning home run. Again, if you're a White Sox fan, you're elated, and if you're a neutral, just a neutral baseball fan in general, I mean, just for the drama of it, to get 3 home runs in the 9th inning. But unfortunately for the Yankees, they lose 8-9, and it was just like the spitting image of just what has gone wrong with this Yankee season all along, and with the situation right now, there's really no one you could trust in that bullpen. So the Yankees blow that game. So again, instead of a Field of Dream game, it became a Field of Nightmare. And for Major League Baseball, the Field of Dream game, again, based on, kind of from the 1989 movie, if you build it, it will come. Now, you're not gonna believe this. I actually have never seen that full movie from beginning to end. I've seen Old Sandlot, I've seen Rookie of the Year, I've seen a lot of the great ones. For some reason, I just haven't seen that or Bull Durham, so I'm just waiting for the right time. Nevertheless, back to the game itself, it drew the largest TV audience for Major League Baseball in the last 16 years, so I'm sure they loved it. But just crazy enough, the viewership they did get is average about only 1/3 of the average NFL game, just to show you how the NFL is just a beast. And again, if you're watching it, and if you're just a neutral fan, you got 7 total home runs, So a lot of, it's not, you got a lot of offense, some dramatics in the ninth. So overall for baseball, it was a success. Now they haven't officially announced anything that what teams will be involved, but you can pretty almost guarantee that this is going to be a yearly thing. And for the Yankees and White Sox themselves, now it would have been nice if they played all 3 games there, but I guess keeping the players, a hotel nearby, it's a small town, there's a thin road, so they only played the 1 game there, so they took a day off, then moved the series to Chicago, and Chicago's a pretty legitimate team that definitely favored to be in the playoffs. Now the Yankees, even though they dropped the first one, ended up taking the next 2. So recoup a little bit just from that heartbreaking loss on the Field of Dream game. Now the second game, again, almost like first, they blew a lead again thanks to both Britton and Green, who couldn't hold on. But luckily, one of the new Yankees, Joey Gallo, hit a big home run in extra innings that put the Yankees up 7-4, and they would go on to win that game. And of course, in the finale, the Yankees also take the 3rd game as well. So yeah, you lose heartbreaking the Field of Dreams game, but at least you recover a little bit by winning the next 2 against a quality team on the road. But again, the problem lingers is that this bullpen, you just cannot trust anyone in there. Even people like Green that you would always trust, even him now, you got to hold your breath. And if you just look at this whole season, whether it was the Field of Dream games, the games up at Fenway, especially the one with Herman, where he had the no-hitter into the 8th inning, they blow a 4-0 lead. They've had so many heartbreaking losses, this team, that even if the bullpen was a little better, they'd probably be in first place by now already. But this team it's really struggling lately, and they're going to find a way, because if they don't have a good bullpen, forget about it. Even if you get all these players back, in the postseason, you have a bullpen that's going to lock it down. If not, they got no shot. And just to show you how important a good bullpen is, the Yankees are 2nd in the league, being involved in 64 games that are decided by 2 runs or less. Now, in those games, the Yankees are 41-23, which is great. But just imagine if the bullpen, wasn't so terrible lately. And again, as mentioned before, just think of all the games they've blown. Again, the Field of Dreams games, the games at Fenway, the game against Ohtani when he came to the stadium for the first time. They knocked him out in the 1st inning, had a 7-0 lead. Great. They blow that game. So many heartbreaking losses. But this really goes to show that the team is there. So if they could get that bullpen back to where it was with Chapman, it really puts them in a great position. So we'll look at the bullpen itself, and it's like, what's exactly going wrong? Now, as I mentioned before, Chapman had to be sent down for elbow inflammation. Hopefully he comes back, and again, hopefully that was the reason why he really hasn't been himself lately. But I think a lot of it has to do with a couple of things. Of course, with him out, you have this bullpen guys pitching in innings they're not really used to. And again, a lot of these pitchers are just creatures of habit, very superstitious. They're used to routines and stuff like that. So when you're pitching in innings you're not really used to and different types of pressure, kind of get on you. And of course, the Yankees have several bouts of COVID. Of course, this has kind of been the theme of the whole season. So someone like Green in and out, someone like Loizaga been in and out, Britton's been in and out, and then this Britton himself, as mentioned before, he's been 1 out of 4 in save opportunities with an ERA over 6. That's not the Zach Britton, close to Zach Britton we're used to. Since coming here to the Yankees, been pretty good. So you just have a lot of players that's not, pitching their normal, their normal inning slot. So once Chapman comes back, and you kind of put everyone kind of where they belong, I think that would improve over time. And also, again, you're just going to need these guys because the way it is in the playoffs, the only pitcher that the Yankees have who's capable of going 8 or 9 innings is Cole. That's it. No one else is going to do that. So a lot of these playoff games, if the Yankees make it, are going to be 5 innings from a starter, and they're going to have to piece together with the bullpen. So they got to make sure that they use the rest of August and September to get the bullpen right, because without that, there's no way this team has a shot. And side note for Britton, after the Field of Dream game, he was just so crushed. He actually went to Boone and just told him, look, I can't do this anymore. I'm just letting the team down. Physically telling him he doesn't deserve the closer role, which is pretty powerful in itself, and that maybe it's something you want to keep in-house, but he actually let the press know that that's what he said. So he's just in a real defeated state right now. So, he's got a case of the Chuck Knobloch yips. Let's hope he gets over it. Similar with the Yankees had same thing deal with Steve Sachs in the 80s, where you had these guys someone like a Chuck Knobloch who was a Gold Glover, a second baseman, and all of a sudden he couldn't throw the ball at first base. Situation with Britton where he just can't get the big out, or he just can't throw that third strike when he needs to, and he's just gonna have to find his way. Because you need the big 3 at the end, which would be Green, Britton, Chapman. Now maybe Loizaga is a wild card in there, and he's having a good season, but we never seen Loizaga do this for a full season and in a playoff situation. So I'm not too sure yet if Loizaga can handle that. He probably could, but we know for a fact because we've seen it before. We've seen Green handle it. We've seen Britt handle it, and we've seen Chapman definitely handle it. So we need those big 3, and of course, Britton is the 8th inning guy. So one solution of this problem could have been Luis Severino. Well, he's coming back as a starter, but possibly could have used him similar to the Yankees used him back in 2016 when he was coming back from injury, as you may recall, a few years ago. They actually had him come out of the bullpen just to be a 1 or 2 inning guy who would just come pump 100-mile-per-hour gas. Only problem now with Severino, the chance now we may not even see him for the rest of the season. Now, he was working his way back on a previous rehab start when 4 innings were tied, all 12 batters he faced. Everything looked good, squeaky clean. But then on his next rehab while warming up, said he felt some discomfort, and now they had to shut him down for a while. And it's a situation where we don't know if we're going to see this guy this season. And of course, for him to pitch in the playoffs, if he gets there, he has to at least throw an inning in August. So you're not even sure if you're going to get him back in August. I mean, only about a week or so to go. So it could be now that could have been an asset for the Yankees, where even if he comes back, it's probably enough time to build up arm strength to be a starter, but enough arm strength just to throw 1 inning, and that's someone the Yankees could have utilized as a weapon, whether to throw 1 or multiple innings late in the game, similar with the Red Sox did with Nathan Eovaldi going back to 2018, where Eovaldi kind of became a spot starter. Maybe he'll come and do some middle innings for 3 innings, or he'll just close a game if need be. Now, that could have been Severino, could have been a role for that, but now it's in doubt whether we even see Severino for the rest of this season. And also working his way back, as you know, a big cog would be Corey Kluber, finally throwing some innings in rehab. But similar to Severino, until you actually see him in a Yankee uniform on the mound, whether it's at Yankee Stadium on the road, it's almost hard to discount on either of these 2 players, which, at least with Severino, we always thought he was going to be back by July, and that kept pushing back. Kluber, we knew he was going to be out a chunk. They were kind of saying September, but again, until you see him on the mound, it's hard to consider him going to be in the rotation. And of the 2, it seems Kluber might be more possible, but again, it could be a situation where he has a setback as well. So the Yankees, the starters that are thrown out there now, are probably what you're looking at if the Yankees, do make it a postseason run. Now, the saving grace with the starting rotation has been Jameson Taillon, who really has been the Yankees' best starting pitcher since the All-Star break, and perhaps you can make the argument probably maybe the best pitcher in the American League since the All-Star break, pitching in his last 3 starts to a 1.74 ERA, only giving up 8 earned runs, 41 innings with 34 strikeouts, and really stepping up at a time which is kind of crucial. Again, this is during the period where both Cole and Jordan Montgomery went down, and someone needed to step up, and it has been Taillon. And it's good for him because, he came in with a lot of hype. He was kind of coming back from 2 lost seasons, but didn't really get off to a great start. A couple of wins there, wasn't going really going long in these games, but now pitching much better, and he's kind of seeing the raw talent that Cashman saw when he made the offseason move to bring him to the team. And a surprise shot in the arm for the Yankees rotation has been Luis Gil. Now, the Yankees brought him up for kind of as a kind of emergency spot start, but he's been fantastic. Now, in his first 2 starts for the Yankees, going 11 innings, striking out 14 batters, and issuing 0 earned runs. And it's like one of those players where it's someone you don't plan on, you don't think about, but he actually might be better than if you've gotten Severino or if Kluber comes back, and someone like that just kind of take off in a playoff and just be dominant. Those crazy things happen. Kind of think about what happened to the Yankees in 2005 when they faced the Angels and Irvin Santana. Again, a young kid came up out of nowhere, and the Yankees couldn't touch him. So again, early, it's only been a couple of starts, but has a good lively arm. And it possibly might be someone like, hey, you know what? If he might just turn out to be better than one of these 2 starters that you thought you were coming back. And this is how crazy baseball is. Now you might be thinking, hey, what about the Yankee young farmhand Davy Garcia, who we saw last year? Unfortunately, hasn't had a good season in AAA. Has an ERA over 7, issuing 39 walks in 54 innings. And it just seems like he's just not ready yet for the major league level. And probably the case is you're just not going to see him just for, Herman when he comes back. And again, overall for the Yankees, he's been pitching well. You're getting Monty back with Cole in there. Taillon's pitching good. And of course, the fan favorite now, Nestor Cortez. And as for Mr. Cortez, he's actually become a bit of a Yankee fan favorite now, because he's not used to a typical, type of pitcher. Again, as he originally a reliever with the Yankees, but just due to circumstances with, pitchers just injured or having COVID, became a bit of a spot starter for the Yankees and goes in there and it pretty much always gives the Yankees 5 innings, which they need before going to the bullpen. Now, again, as a reliever, he's not really stretched out, so they pretty much don't go more than 5 innings, and he's a different type of a pitcher. We're used to these pitchers now just throwing high octane, 98, 100 miles per hour. He's a lefty, just throws a lot of funky junk, kind of, if you remember Jamie Moyer back in the day, just throwing slow and slower at different arm angles, and he's able to get outs, and he's kind of gutsy, and it's just, a little scrappy, and this gives his team a little bit of attitude, what they kind of need, because again, at the beginning of the season, they were just kind of like walking zombies. Now, again, not an impressive record, only 1-1, because again, he only goes about 5 innings, and this is the way the Yankee offense has been struggling for most of the season. Usually it's a case where he leaves with the game's tied, or if he's ahead 1-0, the Yankee bullpen blows it. So not impressive record-wise, but a guy like that is a very valuable weapon for the team. Now, if you're a Yankee, at some point you have to get COVID. It's a rule. So look at Anthony Rizzo, who the Yankees bought in at the trade deadline. Wonderful trade, looked like a beautiful trade, perfect trade, and turned out to be the way. Hits home runs in the first 2 games as a Yankee, and sets a record as being a Yankee who's scoring an RBI in his first 6 games with the club. But of course, since you're a Yankee, you have to get COVID, so he was down for a while. Now he will work his back shortly, and again, the Yankees need him for both, his left-handed power bat, of course, and of course you want a left-hander at first base ideally. Open the door for Voit, who's had a miserable season. And again, once Rizzo came in, the writing was on the wall with him. But, to Voit's credit, took advantage of it. Hit a couple of big home runs, in the Chicago series, as well before that against Kansas City. But of course, once Rizzo comes back, the job is going to be his. And for most of the season, a lot of fans have been kind of beating up on our old friend Brett Gardner. But, August, he actually picked it up a little bit, in his first 11 games of the month, going 11 for 35, including a home run at the Field of Dream games, which is a good moment for him. Just to think, let's just say the Yankees didn't sign him, and again, they didn't play the Field of Dream game last season, he would have missed out on the opportunity. So even though they lost the game, Gardner at least hit a home run, so you have a cool story to tell the grandkids. And again, he's kind of been part of this little scrappy nucleus that's been forming with not only him, but Rougned Odor, you got Nestor Cortez, Tyler Wade, just doing little things on the bases, being a little scrappy, scoring runs here and there, kind of giving this team a little bit of character against some of the stiffs like a Giancarlo Stanton, for example. And Brett Gardner's been all a part of that. And also this little Yankee merges they got now with some of the scrappy players. Also, someone who you expect to do good, Aaron Judge, is kind of finally really picked it up and kind of looking more like the Aaron Judge we remember from 2017, 2018. Can't say, Judge has had a bad season. Again, he stayed healthy this season and had a little, COVID bout, which is not really his fault. But doesn't look, he's had a good season, but not great. And it's kind of like he just hasn't seen the same as he was a couple of years ago. And of course, the last 2 seasons been mired with injuries, whether it was the oblique, the wrist, something like that. Now he's really starting to, pick it up a little bit. Hitting .283, 26 home runs and 63 RBIs, and plus had 2 monster home runs, in that Field of Dream games, close to one of the dramatic ones in the 9th inning. And it just seems Judge himself is a little more confident, kind of is looking more like the Judge that a couple years ago that we thought was just going to be a future Hall of Famer and future captain for the Yankees. And the last couple of seasons, and even early this season, kind of started questioning, where's Judge? Is he just ever going to be that same player anymore? Kind of looks like he's getting to that level, which is where you want to be, especially now that we're going to start rolling to September and possibly into October. Now, the Red Sox started scuffling themselves a little bit. Again, pretty much the whole season they were in first place, but finally the Rays did catch up to them and knock them out for a while. So, it just shows that this Boston team wasn't as invincible as we thought they were in the first half of the season. But again, they did get some reinforcements, of course, getting Chris Sale back from Tommy John surgery. Again, we figured that both Sale and Luis Severino probably coming back around at the same time. Looks like Sale beat him to the race there. And of course, Boston for the offense picked up Kyle Schwarber at the trade deadline. So beefing up there. But again, there is an opportunity that, that Boston wasn't as destructive as we thought it would be. But still, the Yankees are going to be chasing the both of them. And of course, this, what the baseball gods are going to do. The last 3 games of the season for the Yankees are at home against, of course, the Tampa Bay Rays, and you just know it's going to happen, whether the Yankees are up by a game or 2 or behind a game or 2, it just feels like that weekend, those last 3 games at Yankee Stadium are going to be so crucial. Now, the Yankees are going to finish up the month of August on a West Coast trip, visiting the Angels as well as the Oakland A's. Now, the Angels are, about a 500 team more or less, but of course, Anaheim, if you're a Yankee fan, is always a house of horrors no matter what records the team are. So, it's going to be tough, and plus, of course, it's Ohtani and everything that and all the drama stuff. And Oakland, pretty good ball club themselves, so not going to be an easy trip for the Yankees. But now, once September rolls around, it's a golden opportunity for the Yankees to really make up some ground, whether it's catching the Red Sox or catching the Rays or at least solidifying themselves in one of the wild card spots. So if you look at the schedule, they got 6 games against the Baltimore Orioles, and this is a Baltimore Orioles team that's about 40 games under 500. Then you got 3 games against the Texas Rangers at home, and Texas Rangers, they are about 40 games under 500. Then you have the Cleveland Indians, who are just a little under 500, about a 500 team themselves. So you look right there, like 12 games where really no reason why you can't win 10 out of those 12 games. Now, interestingly enough, the Yankees also play the Mets during September. Now the Mets themselves kind of fighting for the playoffs and about a 500 team more or less. Going to be hard to see how they are, but whether the Mets are in a better spot or not a good spot from now, it's going to be a tough series because it's at Citi Field. So for the Yankees, it's going to be tough because no DH, so it kind of hampers their lineup a little bit at that. Plus, even though DeGrom's shut down a little bit, the Mets are going to do everything possible that once DeGrom is back, whether give him an off day or extending him a little bit to make sure he pitches one of those 3 games. The Mets are going to want to do that to the Yankees. But overall, just for September, golden opportunity to stop up, to build up some wins. Now, the tricky part is going to be the Toronto Blue Jays because the Yankees faced them 7 times in September. And the Blue Jays are kind of interesting. They're kind of really right there on the Yankees' heels as well. And very good shot. They're going to go for a playoff push themselves. Probably not going to get the AL East, but they might still be in a position with a fight for a wild card spot. Or just in general, they're an AL East foe of the Yankees. Would love nothing more to, just ruin their plans of making a postseason. So probably those 7 games against the Blue Jays are going to really determine the Yankee season more or less. And for some reason with the Yankees, especially at Yankee Stadium lately, just seem to struggle against the Toronto Blue Jays. So this will be the time to exercise the demons. And, for the Yankees, if they could, again, pad up on those 12 wins I mentioned, and this, even if you go maybe 4-3 in those 7 games against the Blue Jays, puts them in a real good position where, for that last weekend against the Rays, where they could perhaps take the AL East title, and if they don't get the AL East title, at least have an opportunity for one of the available wild card spots. So the Yankees already got Garrett Cole back from his COVID stint. They said he lost a little weight like that, but overall seems like he should be fine. Rizzo should be right around the corner, as well as Gary Sanchez. So those seem like the sure bets of coming back. Again, Severino, Kluber, of the 2 of them, maybe Kluber comes back. Severino at the point, even though he said it many times, yeah, he's coming back, he's coming back, he's coming back. From at this point of the season, you can't see him coming back. Just again, he hasn't even gotten on the major league mound yet, and August is going to be gone before you know it. But it's so good news for the Yankees that get those guys back, and this team's been playing a little better, so you get some of those stars back. They just got to figure out the bullpen, and just hopefully with the return of Chapman and some other players, fall into place, and maybe just whatever yips Britton has, he could kind of get over it, and this team could finally put it together in September. And again, with an overall should be kind of an easy schedule in September, opportunities to pad up on some wins, and then be ready, when it's prime time. Now, you may recall in the previous episode, we had a little Yankee trivia for you. Now, I don't have the same apple. I actually ate it after that episode, but no worry, I'm going to give you some good questions here. And I decided, with these questions, I'm going to gear it to maybe a little older Yankee audience there. So if you're an older Yankee fan or just a very knowledgeable Yankee fan overall, this is going to be a good test for you. So for our first question, we're going to go to first base. Who replaced Lou Gehrig in the lineup on May 2nd, 1939, which ended Gehrig's 14-year Ironman streak of 2,130 consecutive games? Who was that player that replaced Gehrig at first base? First base, playing for the Yankees. Yankees. The Babe. No, not the Babe you're thinking about. Ellison Tenney Babe Dahlgren. Obviously, with Gehrig had his disease, wasn't the same player anymore, and finally decided to sit out. Dahlgren took his position at first base, and in that game, Dahlgren actually hit a home run in a rout over the Detroit Tigers. Now, interesting fact about Dahlgren, next year in 1940, misplayed a ball in the outfield, which actually cost the Yankees a game and a pennant. Now, the Yankee manager at the time, Joe McCarthy, has a feeling that maybe there was some rumors about him that actually Dahlgren was high on pot at the time, marijuana, whatever they used to call it back in 1940, and that's the reason why he dropped the ball. So this rumor circulated around for a little bit. 3 years later, in 1943, when it came out and became more publicly known, Dahlgren volunteered to take a drug test, and he became the first Major League Baseball player to take a non-performing enhancing drug test. Now, he passed the test, but we don't know if he was a pothead or not. Probably was. Let's see you knock this one out of the ballpark. Who was the last Yankee to hit a grand slam in the old Yankee Stadium in 1973? Can you guess who hit it? 1973. Who was on the Yankees? You probably don't know this one, so the answer is Fred Stanley, who was nicknamed Chicken and was actually the last active player to play on the short-lived Seattle Pilots. Okay, those first 2 might have been a little tough, so I'll ease it down a little bit for you, but not too much. Still saying, kind of in the golden age. Which Yankee pitcher served up the game-winning home run to Bill Mazeroski in Game 7 of the 1960 World Series? Come on, it shouldn't be too hard. Who gave up that home run to Bill Mazeroski? Wasn't Whitey Ford, so don't worry. Come on, you can get it. Ralph Terry. Ralph Terry unfortunately gave up that heartbreaking home run to Bill Mazeroski, probably the greatest moment in Pirates history and probably one of the most depressing moments in Yankee history, maybe minus blowing the 4-game lead against the 2004 Red Sox. Anyway, with Ralph Terry, normally a starter, but in that situation, the Yankees need him to relief, and of course, he gave up that game-winning home run. But for Terry, he did redeem himself. 2 seasons later, in the 1960 World Series, was the MVP of that World Series against the San Francisco Giants, going 2-1 in 3 starts. Can you imagine anyone going 3 starts anymore in a 7-game World Series? Very rare. Did it back in the day with 16 strikeouts in 25 innings. So redeemed himself there. And interesting enough, with Terry, ended his career with the Mets. Pitched for them both in 67 and in early 66, and then in early 67, when he didn't have it anymore, decided to hang it up. Sticking with pitchers, which former Yankee closer saved the 308th game of the Hall of Fame career of Nolan Ryan's? Former Yankee closer pitching with Nolan Ryan. Who could that be? Quick answer, Goose Gossage. Now, interesting enough, this happened in 1991. It was actually Goose Gossage's 308th career save of his career, saving the 308th win of Nolan Ryan's career. 308 is a funky number. How about a little defense? Gold Gloves. Now, in 1985, the Yankees had 3 Gold Glove winners. Now, I'll give you the first 2. Pretty obvious. Well, the first one's going to be Donnie Baseball, Don Manley, first base. Second one, Dave Winfield. But who was that 3rd Yankee to win a Gold Glove? A pitcher, the Gator, Ron Guidry. Now, interesting enough, also that 1985 staff featured both the Niekro brothers, Joe and Phil Niekro. And for Phil Niekro, the older brother, 1985, also picked up the 300th victory of his Hall of Fame career. And speaking of brothers, this brings us to a bonus round. Now, obviously, I just talked about the Niekro brothers. And of course, I'm not going to insult your intelligence. We all know about the Alou brothers, Felipe and Matty, playing for the Yankees in 1973. But what was that 3rd pair of brothers that played for the New York Yankees? So we got the Niekros, we got the Alous. Who was that 3rd pair? Can you guess? Any idea? This one's really out there left field, so you're probably not going to get it. And the answer, Billy and Bob Shands. Both played for the New York Yankees in 1960. Bet you didn't know that. So how'd you do? Do bad, get worse, 1 out of 3, none of them had no clue about any of these players? Well, at the very least, now you got a little bit of knowledge. So maybe when you go to the game early, whether you had Billy's or Stands, you drop some of these questions like, wow, this guy's a brilliant, smart Yankee fan. And you can thank me for that. So remember, go to the channel on YouTube. Remember, Section 420 Talkin Yankees. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell there. And in the comment section, if you know why they called Fred Stanley chicken, I'd really like to know.